So, the PlayStation 4 has been announced. It's coming out holiday 2013. Neither of those things were terribly surprising, but there was some very interesting stuff that came out of this, what they call the PlayStation meeting. But on the whole, it was something of an uneven affair in my assessment of it. Firstly, it was an oddly sober affair. There wasn't a ton of fanfare. There was none of the cheerleading that you would expect from any console maker, or really a lot of publishers, at something like E3. This felt like a far more serious and a far more focused approach that at times I think really worked in Sony's favors, and at other times kind of highlighted that we weren't getting as much as what we actually thought we were getting. What I think is probably the most important is what happened at the beginning of this conference, especially with Mark Cerny coming out and really showing what the philosophy was behind the architecture and the construction of the PlayStation 4. The primary being a strong attention to developers. This is a 180-degree turn from what Ken Kutaragi's approach was, which was power, 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 without much concern for developers that need to catch up to understand how to exploit everything that was inside of the PlayStation 3. They said that they talked to developers to get feedback from them and use that to help build what the system was. I've already talked to a couple of developers here who said that they really were approached, and one of them even saw his idea implemented into the architecture of the PS4. How much of this is true and how much is this kind of like a feel-good hug session, I can't say. But for Sony to kind of stand behind those philosophies in stark contrast to where they were with the PlayStation 3. Remember, that was the system which apparently you were supposed to take 2 jobs to be able to earn the money to buy when it first came out. It's something that's a little bit more accessible. It's made for people to make games, to get those into the hands of the audience so they have more games to play. That is probably the most important and the most satisfying aspect of what we got here at the PlayStation meeting. Now, I found it very exciting about the level of connectivity, though I think a lot of people may be bothered by sort of the lack of privacy that may be afforded them when they're playing the PlayStation 4, although I imagine there are settings where you can turn all of that off and be like me, a hermit, playing their games. But with the cloud stuff, it sounded so interesting. The idea of someone from their game taking control of your game, the recording of gameplay and finding a way to stream it all out there, but it was, at the very end, you realized concepts, dreams. They're very exciting, and I can see really cool things that can happen on the developer side, but that's all they are right now. They haven't been implemented. They're going to be rolling these out. It didn't have the certainty that I think a lot of people wanted about what they're doing with is going to be probably the most dramatic aspect of the PlayStation 4. As for the games themselves, they look great, but they don't look all that different. Probably the most exciting for me moment was seeing Media Molecule's concept of what they would like to do. It really reminded me that Sony has a stable of developers that are among the most creative and seem to be given the most latitude to take experiments and do stuff that may not always work out well, but shows so much more interest in trying to push what games can do going forward. When you look at something like Killzone, it's great. But it's a shooter, it's Killzone, and with all the ideas being talked about with Gaikai, with the idea that they were trying to make this easier on the developers, it's been great to have seen a couple more titles that really kind of fulfilled on that promise. We've been dealing with this issue, the stuff surrounding Destiny, where we're hearing a lot of big talk, but we're not seeing how that talk can be realized. It wasn't as bad in this instance, but at the end of the day, it could have been a lot better. Now look, we have E3 coming down, and they had to hold some stuff back. I think that they're going to be fulfilling on a lot of what they're saying, but it didn't make the strongest case possible, and I think it does give Microsoft an opportunity to make a stronger case and grab a lot of that mind share. But for the moment, the PS4 is all we know about the next generation of gaming consoles, and I think they at least have gotten into people's minds, and they have a chance of making a compelling enough case that maybe some of those Xbox owners right now might be considering a PlayStation 4.